and career. So please feel free to get coffee and refreshments. It's just near the hall. Well, without further ado, the panel will be deliberating on resources for export market. We are privileged to have four distinguished panelists today. Each panelist will share their thoughts for about 10 minutes, and once all panelists have spoken, we'll proceed with the Q&A session. Allow me to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Muhammad Shahrumiza Zakaria. He is the Trade Commissioner for the External Trade Development Corporation, formerly called Trade. He is based in New York since July 2012, and he used to be the Trade Commissioner at Matrade in Taipei office from 2007 to 2011, and the Director of Matrade for Northern Region Office in Penang, Malaysia, from 2004 to 2007. He has served as the head of electrical and electronics ICT unit in Matrade Policy. He was also involved in trade analysis, planning strategy, e-commerce, and trade information management since he joined Matrade in 2001. Please welcome Mr. Zakaria.
Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Halina, for the introduction. Yes, everybody talk about after lunch syndrome, we call it, because lunch is, I call it best time. Best in inverted comma means that it's a challenging time, especially not just for you but also for speakers, for us to make it interesting, to make the topic lively, interesting, and attractive to you, so that your eyes will not be getting smaller and smaller. And for the Malaysian delegates, you know that now is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and in Malaysia it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's past your sleeping time. But some of you, like to stay awake during there are a lot of Malaysians love to stay awake during the middle of the night. We still eating nasi lemak, the rice, eating roti canai, all the food. We're hanging out at the cafe that operates 24/7 in Malaysia. It's a really very nice phenomenon. So you, those American, you should go to Malaysia and witness this, hang out, especially during weekend when we have the English Premier League. So the Liverpool fan, the Manchester United fan. I'm a Chelsea fan, so everybody needs to. We do respect. Okay, so that is the just to make it a bit lively. So I will talk less, and I'll give my opportunity, the opportunity to my colleagues to speak more, and also maybe for us to more interactive in the afternoon session. I have the slides, but I will not run through because yeah, you can take it later. I think my U.S. chain will publish it in the website, and I would like to thank Malaysia U.S. Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to be part of this very good program. Besides being a sponsor for the program, but also the most important thing, we would like to enhance our role in promoting trade between Malaysia and US. So I would like to summarize my presentation. I have 5 key points. It's easier to understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 key points that I would like to highlight today. The first key point is market, our role as the prime resource for export market. That is the title of my presentation, because we are talking, the section is about the resources for export market. So how the first person I would like to claim that value proposition. We are the prime resource for the export market, especially the Malaysian companies, but not forgetting American companies. We also have a very important value proposition for you. That is my 5th point later. So my second point is about Matrade. What is Matrade? Matrade, we are Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation. We are a national trade promotion agency established in 1993 with the main task to promote export from Malaysia to all over in the world. I think we are roughly, based on our trade statistic, we have been Malaysia has been exporting to nearly 192 countries all over the world. And US has been our 4th largest trading partner, export destination, and source for imports for many years. US have been our traditional, we call it traditional market for Malaysia. So for me, I don't need so much to introduce about Malaysia, about the country, about the product. But my role right now is more on finding the new niche finding new areas of the cooperation, and how to enhance the way, as well as to enhance the business relationship, trade relationship between Malaysia and US. And our main role is to, again, to help Malaysian company to penetrate and explore US market. Vice versa, we are helping American companies to source to Malaysia and do trading with Malaysia. So the third point, as a prime resource for export market, our role, for especially for Malaysian companies, we facilitate market penetration. We facilitate market expansion for the Malaysian company. If we have products, if we have services, we want to find where about to go to US. US has nearly 50 states, and different states have different requirements, different demands, different consumer demography, different industry background. So if you need any assistance, feel free to contact us. We have 3 offices in US. I'm based in New York, and I have another colleague based in LA, overlooking the West Coast. I'm looking for East Coast. Plus, there is another, we call it satellite office in Miami, also foreseen by me. Next 2 weeks, I'll be going there because we're having a promotion on processed food and beverage in America's food and beverage in Miami. We also facilitate American companies to source from Malaysia, maybe sell into Malaysia, but not much on that because that rule actually on if you're interested to export to Malaysia, there are the rules of the U.S. Commercial Services Office, who are based in the embassies all over the place, over the world. So we don't want to step on their shoes. But again, we are connecting you with them so that you can get to know. If you want to sell to Malaysia, there are opportunities. We Malaysia, we not just position ourselves as a market of 30 million people, but we also position ourselves as a hub for fast-growing ASEAN market, maybe 600 million people, and also a stepping stone, especially for the halal products to enter the Muslim countries. And right now, US is the best place to do business right now. I'm echoing the speech by Ambassador Vinay early this morning from Select USA. Definitely, US is the best place to do business right now. And with the current TPA negotiation, as well as improved bilateral relationship between Malaysia and US with the current both administration from both countries, this is the best time for both countries to enhance their trade relationship between Malaysia and US. My fourth point, the new strategies to enter US market. This is specially dedicated to the Malaysian delegation coming in here. I would like to congratulate all of you who came here all over into the other part of the world, 12 hours behind Malaysia. Right now you are jet lagged. 1 o'clock in the morning are still, up and running, kicking. So that's good. So the new strategy to enter US market right now, because traditionally we always ask Malaysian company to export from Malaysia to US. But do you know the normal shipment from Malaysia to US, the fastest is about 2 weeks, or maybe 2 to 3 weeks, or maybe 1 month, depending on the type of shipment. And if your products are not stranded at the port, then it will take longer time. So the new way how to enter US market is to invest in US. I'm not contradicting my friend Mr. JC from MIDA, because when you see the trade relations between Malaysia and US, Malaysia export a lot of electronic products from US. 50% of it from our exports is E&E products. At the same time, we also import nearly 50% import of E&E product from US. So why? It's a similar. I mean, we are not selling the same thing. Like we are not selling iPad to US and US selling iPad to Malaysia. I mean, that kind of analogy, it doesn't work that way. But we are complementing each other. So that's why, I mean, while Mr. JC and his friends in 6 MIDA offices all over US try to promote Malaysia as the best investment location for American companies, my role right now is more on the cross-border, we call it cross-border investment, where we are helping Malaysian companies, ready Malaysian as companies, I can say, not everybody can enter international market, especially US market, which is very competitive and very, I can say, quite highly regulated for certain sectors. So we are selecting, companies in several industries to invest in US, and that is my role right now. So we are establishing a good network with Select USA as well as many state governments. Last week I've been to this event called Global NY, where the New York State is promoting themselves, not just New York City, but also we know that New York State has 10 regions beside New York City that are actively promote investment in their regions, and they are targeting things like IT, biotechnology, life sciences, even creative industry, media, even lifestyle. So those are the new, the new things that emerging things that are coming, and they offer. I mean, similar like what we are offering to the American investment in Malaysia. Some of this region offer like 10 years tax free for the companies to just to come and invest, like buying a property or take over a company in US. So there are many ways to enter the US market. I mean, with due respect to our colleague that doing business in US, that is the hard way of going towards it, and he's doing it in the last couple of years when information is not at your fingertips, the internet is not booming yet, and the US is still like closing the door, close and open it to the foreign business. But now US is opening their door, and every country, if you see the report, China is coming up. It's a huge investment in US. Last week they bought the richest or the most luxurious hotel in US in New York, Waldorf Astoria for 1.2 billion. It's a huge investment, and definitely they don't really simply pump in the money 1.2 billion without thinking, doing the due diligence on the return on the investment. So if people like the Chinese investment come and pump in the money, why not us? I mean, I'm not expecting me to pump in 1 or 2 billion, but I mean we can come in our own way, in a small way. We set up our foothold here in US. You had also opportunities in Colombia, Maryland, and Virginia. There are only that two, three cities, but I'm covering 29 states all over US, and I'm not going everywhere yet. But still, I mean, all of the states are welcoming the Malaysian companies to invest in any industries that you like. If you are in automotive, for example, you can go to Detroit. Detroit state, if you see Korea, South Korea, they are coming in a big way. The Korean government bought over a few buildings, a few business sectors, and set up, they call it a Korean automotive hub for the SMEs to be there, be located there, and establish their business. Because I remember one of our speakers said, being there, yeah, I mean, Ari correctly said, you have to be there and develop the relationship. He knocks on the, he called for 1.5 years, talk to knock on the door to secure business. I mean, that should be the way. I mean, you have to be close to your, to your buyers, to your importers. The Korean has done it, so they have been there. They're close to the all these big automotive manufacturers, and now they're supplying a lot of LED sensors, all the electronic for the American cars are now supplied by Korea, and their brands also Hyundai, Kia is doing very well in the US market. So yeah, that's some of the example that I can share with you. So I'm coming to my last point, which is the key point for the US company that would like to enter Malaysian market. Yeah, Malaysia is the best market for you because Malaysia, as I said before, we are the hub of ASEAN and South Asia market, fast growth South Asian market. And next year, starting 2015, we are the chairman of ASEAN, and we are doing a lot of the effort, not just for bilateral and multilateral relationship, but also spearheaded by MIPI. We have ASEAN Economic Group that try to develop a lot of initiative for the businessmen, for the businesses to develop further in the ASEAN market. And we have our many standards such as halal. I heard from Mr. Haidil, right now there are the officials from our Islamic Development Authority and Department of Veterinary Services in Minnesota, Minneapolis, to to evaluate the regulations, to evaluate the production of the halal slaughterhouse in Minneapolis, so that the American company can enter Malaysian market endorsed by our Islamic halal religion authority. And we are also, my role also is to help you to source from Malaysia, be it anything you want to source. I mean, anything, yeah, from Malaysia, electronics, furniture, lifestyle products, fashion right now that we are promoting. Yeah, so feel free to contact me. Then I will help you to source from Malaysia. And we have a few sourcing event, especially one in April. We have Malaysian International Halal Show, and coming next week actually we have Intrade Malaysia. This year we are targeting to lifestyle industry, which is a fashion industry. But unfortunately, there is no company in US. There are a few that would like to go, but they don't have because they don't have the time because it's near to Thanksgiving. It's a bit of hard to bring them to Malaysia during the holiday season. And other sectors that are from Malaysia, including lifestyle, automotive, technology companies, biotech, IT, oil and gas, and also biotech. And then thank you, I mean, just now talked about business partnership. So now we would like to create a business partnership with you, to develop new ventures, to develop new products. So we have a lot of resources from Malaysia. We are the largest producer of rubber, of palm oil, wood products. So we have the resources, and we have the technology, and we have the marketing expertise. So it's a big, it's a good partnership for Malaysian as well as for American. So in short, in summary, again, I would like to reiterate my value proposition. Malaysia is the prime market, is the prime resource for export market. Our role is to help Malaysian companies to explore and penetrate US market, and to help American companies, US companies to source and trade from Malaysia. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shobhi Zadakman. Oh, Mr. Mike Jackson. Yes, Michael Jackson. Director of State Finance and Small Business Training at the Export-Import Bank of the United States, Redeem Bank. I'll just give a brief background about Michael Jackson. He's currently served as the Director of CT, State Finance and Small Business Training at the Redeem Bank, an independent agency of the federal government. He creates and manages strategic marketing partnerships with local, state, and regional economic development organizations. He also facilitates product and marketing-driven training sessions and workshops. In addition to his role at Exim Bank, Mr. Jackson is also an adjunct faculty member at Montgomery College, where he instructs a course on how small businesses can go global. He is also a frequent speaker at international trade seminars and conferences throughout the country. Mr. Michael Jackson.
Thank you. Well, I have the honor of trying to keep you all awake after lunch, and I think that is a very good contribution to that effort. So, thank you very much. Thank you particularly to the Chamber for the invitation to come before you all and talk a little bit about Exim Bank, the Export-Import Bank of the United States. This is going to be a quick high-level overview of who we are, what we do, and how we can assist U.S. companies trying to enter Malaysia, or Malaysian companies that have decided to locate here that have then decided to export from here. So the U.S. Export-Import Bank, we're, as was mentioned, an independent agency of the U.S. federal government. We are structured whereby our headquarters is here in Washington. We have 12 regional offices strategically located around the U.S. Our mission, quite succinctly, is jobs through exports. So we're charged with assisting with the effort, the private sector effort of creating jobs here in the U.S., and which actually has an effect of creating jobs in Malaysia and other countries that our U.S. companies are actually doing business in. So this is the SME conference, right? So I want to emphasize for a minute how important small business is. As was mentioned, I work within the business division of our agency. Those of you who are familiar with Exim Bank, are aware that we do business with GE, Caterpillar, Boeing, all the large U.S. exporters. But what's less known, right, is that most of our transactions actually go to support SMEs. In fact, only 90% of our transactions go to support SMEs. And I know my colleague, Chris Brown, is going to come up and talk about the SBA, which is pretty much the equivalent of the SME Corp in Malaysia. But I want to emphasize the fact that our definition of what an SME is, what a small business is pretty clear here in this country in terms of if you're a manufacturer, that would be fewer than 500 employees. Wholesale, less than 100, and retail is really broken down by by sector and by revenue. But I'll let my colleague Dennis get more into that. I talk to SME because I came to Exim Bank from SBA, and SMEs are quite near and dear to my heart. So what we do, part of what we do is really take the fear out of exporting. I know U.S. companies that are in the room and Malaysian companies as well can identify with some of these fears in terms of making your decision to enter a new market. As was mentioned earlier, it's always a challenge in terms of access to capital, particularly for SMEs. So am I going to get paid? If so, when? Right? What happens when I make a sale? I think it's Harmon that mentioned earlier the the scalability aspect of it, where you get that big contract, now you got to go scrambling to get the funds, resources, human capital, and so forth to actually fulfill that order, or you risk losing that sale, okay? And losing that contract that you worked so hard for. Next slide. So our financing actually makes a difference. So we minimize risk in a number of ways, both for the U.S. exporter, right, and also for the lender involved. And I'll talk about what scenarios. I'll talk about a couple of scenarios in which we do that in a second. We also level the playing field because we're you mentioned the official ECA of the U.S. government. There are many ECAs around the globe aggressively supporting their exporters, and we want to come in and actually level that playing field. So U.S. companies, whether it's a Malaysian company that's based in the U.S. or not, to compete on whatever your value proposition is, okay, and not necessarily on the sweetheart financing deal that you can offer to that potential client. We also supplement commercial financing, so we have bank in our name, but we're actually not a bank. We work with banks and other lending institutions to facilitate export finance, right? And if you as an exporter can get a loan from a commercial loan directly from the lender, there's some in the room here. I'm a gentleman with HSBC is in the room. I can raise your hand. Any other banks in the room? Okay. So we work with the private sector to actually offer our services. We don't compete. Even with our direct loan program, which I'll talk about in a second, we still work with service providers to actually facilitate that. So the way we help is a couple of ways. We pretty much run the spectrum from before you ship with our working capital guarantee and our building credit stress direct loan, all the way over to after you ship with our trade credit insurance, loan guarantees, and in a very minimal sense, direct loans on the long-term side, which doesn't really apply to SMEs. I'll talk a little bit more about that right now. So we have a number of products to assist. For example, if your company needs funds to fulfill orders, I just talked about that. You got the big sale. Now you need to scramble to get working capital. We heard how challenging, and I was not pleased, but it raised my curiosity to know that access to capital is as challenging in Malaysia as it is for SMEs here in the U.S. It is a challenge. Because if you need for funds to fulfill orders or for funds for export development, for example, you want to go on a trade mission. I know we have a number of state organizations in the room. F4ZC is also in the room, taking companies on trade missions. We have a solution for that. And that's also a working capital guarantee. Very similar to a program that you hear from my colleague Dennis with the SBA on, where it comes with a 90% guarantee to the lender, right? So this really incentivizes the lender to actually provide funds to SMEs. In a perfect world, 90% guarantee would be a huge incentive, and it is, because we're removing most of the risk. Remember, it goes back to what I said about how we mitigate risk to both the exporter and the lender. This tool mitigates risk for the lender. Okay, our Global Credit Express program is a pilot program. We have where you as a U.S. exporter, whether you're a Malaysian company that has decided to locate here, or just a native U.S. company, that's okay. You can have funds, you can have access to funds up to $500,000 for any export development activity, including working capital fulfilled orders. But a lot of times SMEs need capital to go on trade missions, to convert your marketing material into other languages, for example. Our Global Credit Express program can take care of that. Now, with our, not yet, not yet. Secondly, now is a lot of times, this is a hyper competitive marketplace, as you all can attest, right? A lot of times you may need to extend credit to your buyers, okay? 30, 60, 90 days. They may be asking you, may be asking for cash in advance, or asking them or requiring them to open up a letter of credit. They may be saying, I like you, I want to do business with you, I like your product, but your competitors offer me 60 terms. What do you do in that instance? You lose the sale? No. We have our trade credit insurance that can actually allow you to offer open account credit terms to your foreign buyers. In terms of risk mitigation for the U.S. exporter. So, our trade credit insurance does a couple of other things. It protects you, the U.S. exporter, from non-payment by your foreign buyer due to both commercial and political risks, up to 95%. So you're doing business overseas, and your buyer, for example, goes belly up, he goes bankrupt, okay, can't pay you. All you have to do is file a claim after a period of time, and you get paid out up to 95% on that contract value, removing most of the risk out of the equation for you, okay? Third thing that the trade credit insurance does is, particularly if you're doing business here in the U.S. and you're exporting out, lenders don't like lending against foreign receivables, right? But once those foreign receivables are now backed by Exim Bank credit insurance, the bank automatically looks at those receivables as domestic receivables, thereby allowing you to lend against those receivables, providing you more working capital so that you can go attack the marketplace and win more business. Okay? Lastly, buyer financing. For Malaysian companies that are interested in procuring U.S. capital goods, U.S. equipment, talk about trying to leapfrog the Malaysian economy. A great way to do that, as you all already know, that's what this conference is about, is really connecting you to U.S. exporters that can supply you with wonderful U.S. goods. A lot of times, you may need an importer and Malaysian company may need a loan to procure U.S. capital goods. We have a buyer financing program with Exim Bank that actually is a win-win-win all the way around because it facilitates a loan between a bank and the Malaysian company located in Malaysia that will allow the U.S. exporter to provide those goods to the Malaysian company. Then a loan is made between the bank and the Malaysian company. So the U.S. exporter gets paid out right away. The Malaysian company gets that U.S. capital good, U.S. equipment, and the bank gets to make money on the loan. So everybody's happy. Next slide. I'm trying to brush as fast as I can. There's a couple public policy considerations. So we have restrictions against sales of military items or sales to foreign example, we couldn't, U.S. exporter couldn't sell goods and services to the Malaysian military. There are a couple of exceptions to that. If the equipment is dual use, we can take a look. If it's for humanitarian aid or drug interdiction aid, then we can take a look. But generally speaking, we don't support sales of military items or sales to foreign military. There is a content policy in place where it's 50% U.S. content requirement, right, on the short-term side. So on our trade credit insurance or our working capital for products up to a year, then has to be 50% U.S. content. The way that's derived, calculated, is based on the production cost. Okay. And then on the medium-term side, that buyer financing, it's at 85% content. And then I won't go through all, but restricted countries is something called the country limitation schedule that we use. That's really our Bible that determines where we provide support around the globe. So we do provide support in over 155 countries around the globe, but CLS, as we call it, really makes a determination on where we are open for business. Next slide. We have a number of ways to get in touch with us. There's a small business portal on our website. The link is there. You can call 1-800-565-3946 is actually 1-800-565-XM. If you press 2 from anywhere in this country, it will get you to one of the 12 locations, our field offices that I mentioned earlier. That's my timer telling me I'm beyond 10 minutes. So this is just a quick map of our field office network, 12 offices. Again, easiest way is either connect via the web or that 800 number and press 2, or we can talk afterwards and I can tell you who the field rep is. And I can't leave without mentioning our great partners that we work with. We're a very small agency, only 400 plus people, so we rely heavily on our resource partners to deliver our services. So for the trade credit insurance, we have brokers throughout the country that actually can work with you hand in hand, help you assist with filling out the applications and so forth. Our city-state partners, Export DC is a city-state partner of ours. The state of Maryland, who's not here, and which I'm a resident of, so I was remiss to see that they weren't here, but Maryland's a great state to locate your business in for you related companies as well, just to plug the state of Maryland. Tigna Pringle and her team at the DBED, or Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development, and their International Trade Office is for contact in Maryland. And our delegated lenders. So most of our working capital transactions are done via lenders, such as HSBC in the room, and many others that actually have the authority to go in and do our loans without having to come to Exim Bank first. So you work directly with the lenders to apply for Exim Bank assistance in that regard. U.S. Export Assistance Center Network, many of you are familiar with that. We call them UCX, SBA, ITA, and the Department of Commerce, and Exim Bank are all co-located in numerous field offices throughout the country. We all work together to provide support, along with other agencies like OPIC, you can hear from, TDA, and others. And my contact information. I didn't bring the glove and I can't move. Hopefully you're still there. Thank you.
Michael Jackson. Our next candidate is Mr. Justin J. Andrews, is the investment officer of SME Finance for Overseas Private Investment Corporation. In this role, Mr. Andrews is responsible for evaluating loan applications and for underwriting new development finance projects. Prior to OPIC, Mr. Andrews was a presidential management fellow at the U.S. Export Import Bank. Before entering government service, Mr. Andrews managed humanitarian projects in Africa and Southeast Asia for Doctors Without Borders, and was an investment analyst at the boutique hotel and real estate group Orient Express in New York. Please welcome Mr. Andrews.
Good afternoon, thank you, everyone. Just a quick question. Are any of you actually proposing or thinking about potential investment in Malaysia? I know we've spoken a lot about trade and trade opportunities, but I just wanted to get an idea. Is anyone just considering potential investment in Malaysia from the U.S.? Right, so this is going to be sort of a good moment for all of you to take a 5 to 7 minute power nap. We'll go through my presentation and break you up. So, exactly. You always hope. So I work with the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, the investment officer, and we are the U.S. government's sort of development finance institution. Next slide. So what does that mean? So basically, OPIC supports private sector development projects in developing countries. And the good news is we're open for business in Malaysia. We're also open in about 110, 107 other countries. This changes quite a bit. So if you're looking at other countries and considering OPIC Finance, please check our website. One thing I would like to highlight is that we're just now opening Burma. So that's sort of good news. That's interesting for you folks, so I'll try to keep it current. Next slide. So we're sort of at sort of the nexus of three different points. I mean, we are an instrument for U.S. foreign policy, and we're looking for specific projects and specific industries to focus on, for example, renewable energies. And of course, all of our projects have to have a development component. We are a development finance institution. And then we also interface heavily with the private sector, and specifically U.S. businesses and their foreign partners, which I'll touch upon a little bit later. Next slide. So while that's all interesting for me, what's interesting for you guys is probably what we can do for you. We have two main products which will probably be of interest. The first is our investment finance product. Basically, it's project finance in sort of traditional sense. We can lend up to about $150 million for overseas projects that have a developmental component and a U.S. business element or investment in the project. In addition to that, we have insurance. We provide sort of the classic political risk insurance. So we cover everything from currency convertibility, expropriation, and political violence. I'm on the finance side, so if you have political risk questions, I will take them to someone else and get your answers in there. We also have an investment funds section. This is a new element of OPIC, which is probably less relevant here. But basically, we will provide senior debt for funds which focus on specific sectors within development. So, our clients. Yes, we work with the big firms, but we also work with small and medium-sized firms. For example, I am now taking a look at a cashew processing plant in West Africa, created by two guys coming out of Peace Corps. So we take a look at everything from GP down to, two dudes when I have a cashew. We also work a lot with nonprofits as well. And we also work a lot with our sort of government partners here in the U.S. and overseas. Please. So what does it take to get money from you? You have to have obviously a commercially viable project. It has to be credible. You have to have U.S. private sector involvement. I'll touch upon that in a bit more detail in a moment. And it has to be a private sector project. So pretty straightforward so far. Next. So I'm not going to go through all of these points, but I want to highlight just a couple of points which are probably the most pertinent. Again, all of our projects require a certain amount of what we call U.S. nexus or U.S. involvement. If you take a look at the how does OPIC measure U.S. involvement, basically the project has to have 25% U.S. ownership. So basically, the project equity has to be either from a U.S. citizen, U.S. green card holder, or a U.S. company operating in the United States. Meaning that we will finance joint venture projects, for example, U.S. and Malaysian company, 25% U.S. partner and 75% Malaysian partner in the for a project in Malaysia. Also, I'd like to highlight that we do again focus on small, medium-sized businesses. Our definition is a bit different than the ones utilized by SBA and Exim. Basically, if you are a firm with annual revenues of less than 400 million or less than 500 people, we consider you a small or medium-sized business. So just to sort of highlight the kind of projects that we do, we basically had sort of concrete and construction materials firm in Haiti that we supported after the earthquake. We do a lot of microfinance, specifically within South Asia. We do water treatment and water facilities services. Anything with a developmental component, we'll take a look at. So we're pretty broad in that. Again, as I said before, we are sort of an agent or an element of U.S. foreign policy, and we focus on specific sort of sectors and specific priorities. The one I'd like to highlight here is obviously renewable resources. We're very keen on doing renewable projects, wind, solar, also on the thermal side, but that's certainly something that we'd be very interested in taking. Just to go through a bit of the sort of more of the operational details. This is sort of our project review and approval process. Again, I won't walk through each step, but basically, if the project is fantastic, we love it, and it's hugely creditworthy, then this could take as short as 6 months. If it's something that's a bit more of a challenge, then it's going to take longer, maybe 9 months to a year. And we try to sort of go from open to close within a year for the most part. Just a couple of points, I'll just like to walk through this. Typically, we will screen the project and hopefully get a response back to you, whether or not it's something of interest and something that sort of meets the open profile of projects. Once we've reviewed it, we give you sort of a thumbs up, and we then take it to a screening committee, who then should go through a formal review. Then about a month to do. There's an online application which everyone has to do, whether you're a small business or a GE, everyone's got to go through our online application process, and that's for finance and insurance projects. So everyone's got to go through that. Again, once we review an application and project and we like it, we go through sort of a deep dive due diligence and review, consisting mostly of research and financial review, plus an on-site due diligence tour of the project and the project site. And then beyond that, we go through our internal approval process, which can be short for smaller projects, or larger projects can take a bit more. And then once we sort of give you the commitments, once we receive approval, we can provide you with a letter of commitments, and then we will go through the sort of process of developing loan documents with everything together. And then once that is done, we then actually disperse the money and you guys begin on your project. So again, that's anywhere from a 6 to a year-long project, 6 months to a year-long project. So, the good news is, the first question is pretty much answered for this part. We are open in Malaysia, so we will consider projects in Malaysia. Is the project type eligible? If you take a look at our website, we basically outline the type of projects we prefer and also the sectors we highlight. Again, if you're looking for insurance or looking for financing, you go to our website and there's the online portal which will us fill out the application. It then gets routed to myself or another investment officer. We'll review, reach out to you, ask for additional information, and go through that review process. And then, where do we help with the business plan? We ourselves as an agency don't typically provide assistance with business plans. We like to see them in a finished state. But we do have a number of resources on our websites and links to other organizations as part of our enterprise development network, which will help you develop your business plan and help you to sort of bankable state. Resources there. And website and contact information. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly, either by email or by phone. Ideally by email, as a travel agent. I'd be more than happy to take questions after this or again by email. So if you have any for 7 minutes.
Thank you again to Mr. Andrew. Our next panelist is Mr. Dennis Christon, Director of International Trade Finance, Office of International Trade, U.S. Small Business Administration. Well, in his capacity, he oversees SBA's export loan programs and the SBA staff who deliver those programs at the U.S. Export Assistance Centers throughout the country. So the center combines the international marketing resources of the U.S. Commercial Service and the trade finance expertise of the SBA at 90 U.S. locations. Over the past 4 years, Mr. Christoph also has worked closely with the Interagency Trade Promotion Coordinating Committee's Small Business Working Group in drafting recommendations to expand small business exports under the President's National Export Initiative. Please welcome Mr. Christoph.
Thank you. I want to thank the Malaysia U.S. Chamber for sponsoring this event, for the Embassy of Malaysia for hosting this. Obviously, SMEs are important to the United States. I know we've had some figures before about how much they contribute to the Malaysian economy. SMEs actually represent 34% of U.S. exports, so SMEs are very important to economy and to our export community. Mr. Chandra mentioned SBA before. Michael Jackson mentioned SBAs. We serve the small business community. We have district offices throughout the country and every state. Our loan programs are guaranteed loan programs, which mean you need a lender, you need a bank to make the loan. We come in with anywhere between a 50% and a 90% guarantee on the bank loan, encouraging the banks to make loans to it. I handed out on each table, there's information on our export loan programs, as well as a map of 19 people throughout the country that serve the export community. If you look at the first slide, one of the things that our people in the field can do in our 19 U.S. export assistance centers is basically help a U.S. company interested in export address some of these questions. And these are basically the questions that any SME is going to have. How do I get paid if I go overseas? It's the first thing that's on anybody's mind. How do I reduce my payment risk? Do you ship on open account sales? And Michael answered that with credit insurance. Are there funds available to help me develop new markets overseas? And if I get orders, how do I fund that? What kind of working capital is available to fund the transactions? If I'm successful, how can I expand my business? And I guess probably the sixth question is, if I'm really successful and want to go into a market and invest in that market, what's available? And Justin just answered the question there. You need to check out OPEC. Look at the next slide. These are basically one of the things that we would go over with any client of ours. How do you get paid? What's common in the market? What are the risks in the market? Is payment by letter of credit normal? In order to be competitive, do you have to offer 60-day terms? Is advanced payment guarantee required? Is bid bonding required? And one of the things we want to stress is, depending on the method of payment you quote to your foreign buyer, how does that impact the financing need you're going to have as a company? It's very easy to say, well, pay me in 60 days, and you go to the finance manager, and they say, well, we have to keep the doors open for 60 days and pay our people. Who's going to finance that accounts receivable for 60 days? So these are basically, if you look at the transaction cycle, the financing needs can be pre-shipment and pre-export. I mean, if you're going into the European market, you need certifications, or in the Chinese market, you need certifications. You might have to go to a trade show before you get even that first order. So what is the financing available to get you started? Once you get orders, what financing is needed for working capital to pay your labor, to pay materials so that you can build the order, ship it, and then get paid? And if you extend open account terms, what kind of financing for this whole transaction cycle? You can pull stuff off the shelf. It's very easy to get paid. It doesn't really matter. But if you're in custom build equipment and it's taking you 3 or 4 months to build something, how do you keep that cycle going? And then to extend open account terms, so it could be a 120-day cycle. And then, of course, Michael talked about buyer side financing. So this is basically the questions that I would address with some of the products that we have. If you are getting started, what kind of financing is available? To do trips overseas, to vet your partners, to go to a trade show, to certify. And the answer is that we have a product called Export Express. It goes up to $500,000. We provide a guarantee to lenders, 90% guarantee is $350,000, 75% to $500,000. Working capital can be 7 years. You can buy plant and equipment. You can buy real estate. You can go out as long as 25 years. The only requirement is that you're expanding in an existing export market or entering a new export market. You have to be in business operations for 12 months. Unless you have a lot of international experience, we can waive that. The use of proceeds are basically pretty wide open. You can use it for export development expenses, to go to a trade show overseas, to develop markets, take trips, go on a trade mission. You can relate transactions. Maybe you go to a big trade show in Hanover, you come back, you've got a $100,000 order. You can draw down $75,000, build that order, ship it. You can support standby letters of credit, or you can use it for plant equipment. Second question that is raised is, now you have an order, how do I fund it? And SBA has a product that goes up to $5 million, and it basically relates to these expenses. What goes into a transaction? You need inventory, labor, you might need a performance bond, shipping costs, insurance, and freight. And so the export working capital program is a 90% guarantee. This is Capline. Sorry, we actually have a domestic loan program that can support both international and domestic accounts receivable. So if you're doing a lot of domestic business, but you have some international orders, and you get credit insurance through the Export-Import Bank on those overseas accounts receivable, we have a Capline program that can go up 10 years to support open account sales, both domestic and international. 75% guarantee up to $5 million. Second program is the one that's in your brochure, Export Working Capital, $5 million, 90% guarantee. We can fund individual transactions, or we can set it up on a borrowing base, basically an asset-based line, advances against inventory and accounts receivable. The next question, these are advance rates, 75% against inventory, work in process. I always say we're the U.S. government, we can pretend a lot. If you look at work in process, most lenders will say, well, it's junk, and that's it, it's finished, and we won't advance anything against it. The U.S. government allows advance rates of 75% against work in process. 90% against insured accounts receivable. SBA has no content requirement, no prohibition against military sales. Both requirements under the Export-Import Bank, and our guarantee fee for 12 months is 1%. Next question is, how do I expand my business if I'm bid performance bonds? Both the Export Express and the Export Working Capital Program can support bid and performance bonds, frequently used as advance payment guarantees. One of the problems companies would have is if you have an advance payment and you need to guarantee that advance payment and open a standby letter of credit, while your capital is tied up, you don't have any working capital. Both under the Export-Import Bank and the SBA Working Capital Program, we can support standby letters of credit. Third question is, how do I expand my business, or what kind of financing is available to expand my business? These are the four, basically, working capital solutions. Export Express to $500,000. Michael mentioned the Global Credit Express. Working capital, SBA goes to $5 million, actually has no upper limit. And these are in the Capline also goes to $5 million. So we are getting to the last question, which is how do I, if I'm successful, is there financing available to expand my plant equipment? The international trade loan goes up to $5 million. It's a term loan. You have to have a business plan showing that you're really successful in Malaysia, you need a new piece of equipment, you need a building, 90% guarantee to the lender, 25-year maximum term. So this is basically an outline. It's also in your handout. These are small business standards, generally 500 employees or less. In manufacturing, it can go as high as 1,500. Wholesalers, 100 people. Services varies between 70 and 35 million. Or we have an ultimate size standard, which is $5 million in net income over the past 2 years, $15 million in equity. Indirect exports. This is something I want to highlight because for these loan programs, as well as your XM loan programs, if you are in the U.S. selling to Boeing Airlines, and we know that Boeing jet is going to Singapore Airlines, or Boeing manufacturing company, going to Singapore Airlines, we can finance you even though you're not the exporter of record. So you're considered an indirect exporter. You need documentation that whatever you're selling is being incorporated in 747 that's going overseas. So keep that in mind. It's really a supply chain financing. And this is our network. You have a handout on your desk, and we have 90 people in the field, contact information, and I think I made it.
will open to the floor for questions. And for the benefits of time, perhaps 1 to 2 questions. Yes, please.
Actually, used to work at IFC Trade Finance. So I was wondering, when you see the photo cooperation with major companies with the Exim Bank, okay, because I think you said less than 400. That's the SME definition. Yeah, for SME, for us, pretty small. I'm an entrepreneur right now. So in terms of export credit insurance or anything that you can finance in terms of exporting to Malaysia, do you have any existing Malaysian companies that you're working with, or any example of you past project finance transactions? I'm just curious of how you see it from a cooperation, Exim working and also SME. That would be interesting project. Just curious of past experience. There's a lot of us that are trying to companies and there's a lot of the program we talked about primarily part of this conference. And okay. So I don't know of any specific names of companies. I do know that Exim Bank does quite a bit of business with Malaysia and with Malaysian companies. I don't have concrete names of companies, but that's something I can email you or call you. From the standpoint of Malaysian the requirement is that there has to be a U.S. partner. So I'm not saying that we will support a joint venture between the U.S. company and Malaysia or the project in Malaysia itself. So I think the message initial firms will all be that's not to supply. I will say this too, that yes, so Exim's mandate is to the U.S. exporters, but I did mention during our talk that certainly as a company that has stuff located in the U.S. then you are when you're exporting, then you are considered a U.S. exporter. So a little bit different with SBA, but our requirement is as long as you are a company based here and you're shipping from here, then we can provide you.
That's true for us.
Thank you. One last question, please.
We manufacture product low feed, start the oil, or the contractors they will do. We've been trying to promote this overseas business. What happened is they said if U.S. approves, we'll accept that product. Now, U.S. approved. They're getting into, we want to get into Sri Lanka and Malaysia. Problem is, we don't want to send give the technology down. All they're going to do is send the product, each send across the way. They won't all work with contractors from US, go there and do that. Is that considered a project? They will go take the contract or laying the road, and at the end of that, that's done. That's a quick time or any US to. I would think that if it's a contract to provide a service, is what you're talking about. It's really a service export. And it's a product. Yeah, I know. Well, service product export, and it is something that either the Export-Import Bank or SBA finance. Working capital, so you're probably include that. But it would not be an investment unless you are 25% owner. You actually go and sell.
And in that instance, to fulfill Exim Bank's content requirement, the requirement would be as long as the personnel are U.S. based, and it would be still able to provide the service.
Very much for the questions. Well, before we end our panel discussion, we would like to invite Mr. Stephen Hagen, Business Development Officer, Loudoun County Economic Development, to present certificates of appreciation to our distinguished speakers.
Not really. Yeah. Hmm. The funny thing is, you have everything on the camera. It's only one that they put you alone. I'm like, really, people? Oh my God. Oh, I'm sweating bullets.
Thank you very much for our speakers. Please give them a round of applause. I'll pass the microphone to our master of ceremony, Mr. Cairo.
Everyone knows that new media can do wonders, but not everyone knows how to really harness and leverage all these new media tools to build successful
Right now,
businesses.
it's, yeah.
Our next speaker is full of zest and very passionate about her work. She is an enterprising Malaysian who helps businesses adopt a high-tech, high-touch marketing strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Ms. Zeb Zan, President and Founder of Entrepreneur.com.
All right, folks, bear with me because I'm that Wyatt girl. All right. So while I get this set up, I just want to let everybody know, if you have a smartphone, a tablet, I am actually live streaming this. So you can go to the YouTube channel named Zaf Zan, and you can watch the live stream there also. There might be a little delay, but it would be awesome. Give me a second. How's everybody doing today? Did lunch make you all feel like woozy and sleepy? Second. Can everybody hear me? Okay. All right. Let's get started. Ready? All right. Let's start. So, hi, everybody. I'm Zaf Zan from Entrepreneurs that Soar, president and founder. Yes, I am that marketing girl. Yes, I am that wired girl. I am the one who walks with my smartphone and tablets and get connected. What can I say? I am a people person, and if I don't use that talent, then I'm wasting my time, right? So, welcome everybody from Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen. Today, actually, Roy from Malaysia U.S. Chamber of Commerce has asked me to talk about social media marketing, but I wanted to go into a bigger spectrum, broader spectrum, and go into new media marketing strategies for small SMEs grow, because I wanted to target this presentation to that. So if you're wondering, next slide please. So if you're wondering what in the world is new media marketing, how it can help SMEs grow, before I even get started, can I just see a show of hands who have Facebook accounts? Who has LinkedIn accounts? That your profile is updated, like updated. LinkedIn. Okay? So I will go down the line, tell you why LinkedIn is important in what you do today. So basically, the Wikipedia definition of new media marketing is, it's a relatively new concept. It's all about developing an online community, and I'll tell you later why it's important for SMEs to use this strategy. Partly, the things that I'm going to talk about are like blogs, podcasts, webcasts, message boards, product reviews, and social networks. For every delegation member who has a company based in Malaysia, from Malaysia, can I see a show of hands who have Facebook pages dedicated for their businesses? Just two and halfway? Not this way. So anyways, next please. Why is it important